headache is over. And back then, this is how React used to handle form submit, and it was pretty hard thing. It wasn't that simple and efficient as now, and I will go over that to you so you can have a glance of how you can basically handle form submit back then. And this code basically, this is how it used to be. You define basically what type of information you want, what type of input. For example, you want an input name, basically you define the value year, like you state. So give you an object of all these value right there. And basically, when you define the type of input you would like to capture, so in the form you have to, you define all your input here. I want it for you to see it correctly, so let me add a comment here to see basically what I'm. You can just, like, you will see now basically how it used to be is like you have to define like a function. For example, handle submit here, this is the function you will have to define. And it was a pretty, you basically, this is, it's not a bad things, and this still worked if you try to do it, but React form has improved. And after that I will show you guys the new way you could do it pretty easy. And basically what you do is you get all the data that you receive from your form, and inside of form data here, basically this is how you console that one. You get all these things. For example, name, like you define the object right there, and all will you will get it from the input that you define right here. And this is usually how basically you had your input. Let's say you define the type, the name is very important as well. Type, these two right here, it's very important for your input, because without, it's the name that will help you get basically the information that was the user enter. And you define the value and all these things right here. It's very important. And back then, this is how you could do it. And you define on submit right here, you handle that submit, and you define all the thing you want to happen, and you define the object that you want to save. And event that prevent default is just a way to let the form not submit automatically. That means if user, like, and it's not the word explained it itself, it's prevent the default. Yeah. And E stand for event. You could write event if you want, but just a shortcut, you wrote E. And what that does is you set constant validation error equal, that is error, you check if there is any error. Okay, you call the validate is like, it's a function here basically, you call it. If there is any error in the input, for example, if the user doesn't enter a password that length more than less, for example, if the user doesn't enter a password that met the requirement, for example, this function will fire. So we check that first. And all these things right here, we check it. We check if object that key validate error, like, and this is basically, it's good, it works. All these things is works. But the thing is, there is a new way, a better way that to handle form, and I will show you that to you guys. And basically I will show basically here, if you go I will leave the link to that, leave the link so you guys can check it out. And React 19.2, yeah, this is the current version now. could see it here. And how that works, you don't have to define basically and your 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 function like endosumate. No, you just in action. Now you define the type of thing you want to fire. For example, this is simple as search. You define search, you give the input name query, and I will show you basically. This is, for example, this is a simple one. This is very like basic one, and you guys can go check that out for yourself as well. You can, I will leave the link so you can check it out. And like basically you still have access to form data. Form data is still, you still have access to everything that inside of the form. But now basically with action, it's less work. It requires you to do, you will see the thing that endo endo form summation and decline pass a function to the action. You see, pop of form to when the function when the form is submitted. You can go look at, and there is more advanced. I will show you more advanced one. Endo form submission with a server function. For example, this is an example as well. You just would action, for example, add to cart. You define the input type, hiding name. Name is very important, guys. Remember that name, very important. And you, I will show you more advanced one. Let me see. And it's always good, guys, for you to go look it up for yourself. And once you go look it up for yourself, you will have more glance what's going on, because you will have the time to read it for yourself. And this is as those are the simple one, so I would check it with you. And it always about action, and you define basically what you want. For example, sign up action, you give it an ID here basically. Those are very, and also one thing that is very important, you can ask you can ask a chatbot you can ask a chatbot about this page as well. This is, and this is the last thing I will help you guys. And the chatbot basically will go ahead explain, give you more details. And it says like React form allow you to handle form submission either on the client or server with built-in support for progressive enhancement, optimistic UI update, and error ending. And it give you, let's say, the form component behave like a regular HTML but with enhanced capability. You can pass either a URL or a function to the action. You see what you can do? You can pass either URL or function to the action pop. It says URL behave like a traditional HTML form, and function React intercept the summation and calls the function while with a form data object. And these two right here, guys, is the new things that this action introduced. Like all this basically you can do it as well for yourself. You can ask the question about this page for yourself. And if you like that, you can subscribe, and see you next time. Peace.